Hello, everyone. How's it going? This is immigration attorney Moumita. I'm coming to you live to talk to you about immigration and to see what you may have on your mind tonight. Tonight, we will discuss some important immigration questions, and I will answer as many questions live as I can with the time that I have. So if you have an important question about immigration, about your case, about your status, about what will happen to your future, make sure you drop it in the comment box below, and I will do my best to give you a response before I leave today. Thank you for joining me. For those of you who don't know who I am, my name is Moumita Rahman, and I am an immigration attorney. I work in New York, but I work with clients all over the US on important immigration cases that are complicated and some believe are even hopeless until they come to me. So if you would like to schedule a case evaluation, call us at 212-248-7907. So the question that I wanted to start off today before I take your questions live is, can you still get a green card if you are already divorced from your U.S. citizen spouse? Is it possible for you to move forward with your immigration case if you and your U.S. citizen or green card holding spouse are already divorced? And the answer is, it may still be possible, especially if your divorce is less than 2 years old. If you got divorced less than 2 years ago and you went through a bad time, a bad situation with your spouse, where you suffered, where your spouse was not cooperative with your immigration case, where they treated you in a way that you did not feel was fair, where they made you feel like you were less than them because of your immigration status, or they constantly threatened to pull your immigration case, constantly threatened to get divorced from you in order to prevent you from getting a green card. These may be situations that you may be able to use to help you file for a green card, even though you are divorced. So if your divorce is less than 2 years old and you suffered what is called extreme cruelty in your marriage, then we may be able to help you get a green card, file for a work permit, as well as a travel permission. So all hope may not be lost, and it's really important to discover what your options are, to see what you are qualified for, and we would love to help you proceed, because sometimes people think that everything has been lost, there's nothing else that can be done in their case simply because they are divorced. But as I have told you, if your divorce is less than 2 years old, right? If your divorce happened 10 years ago, then it definitely is not possible, and we would have to look at different ways. But do believe that I look at every single way that I can for all of my clients, because I don't like to leave any stones unturned. If your divorce happens last year, or even within the 2 years before today, then it may still be possible to proceed to help you get a green card underneath the case called VAWA. Okay, so definitely the point of the matter, the moral of the story is to give us a call so that we can evaluate your case. Because if your deadline to apply for VAWA is coming up and the deadline is 2 years from the date of divorce, then you would lose a right that could help you move forward with your life, right? And we don't want that to happen to you. Now, what happens if your divorce did happen more than 2 years ago and you never got a green card through your spouse, or the case got canceled because your spouse didn't want to continue? Do you have any options at that point? And what I would say is VAWA may not be possible, but I do look at two things. Number one is, when you got divorced, did you know about the divorce? Did your spouse properly serve you with the paperwork for the divorce? Because divorce is actually it is basically a lawsuit that one spouse files against another spouse to dissolve and legally terminate the marriage. So what happens in a lawsuit is that the person who starts the divorce has to give the proper notice to the other person about the papers. That's why sometimes you may receive it in the mail. You may have a process server or a colleague hand you the paperwork, whatever it is, because you don't have to agree to the divorce, but you have to be served with it, right? And if you don't respond to the divorce, then you can get a default judgment against you. But the point of this is this: if you all of a sudden find out that you've been divorced, but you were never served with the papers, you never knew about it, your spouse never properly gave you notice about the case against you, then there may be a basis where you can actually go back to the state court to try to vacate and reopen that divorce judgment against you. And then that would bring you back to your original standing of being legally married, and that may allow us to file for VAWA instead. However, if you did know about your divorce, you signed it, you went to court, you did all those things that you were required to do, but your divorce happened more than 2 years ago and you did suffer in your marriage, you would no longer be eligible for VAWA, but I would actually look for something different, which is called a T visa. Now, a T visa stands for trafficking, but when it comes to relationships, there's certain situations that rise to the level of trafficking where you are essentially being forced to do a lot of things by your spouse. You're treated like a servant, like a slave, and you continue enduring these behaviors from your spouse because of the fact that you may believe that that's what you have to do, or that you'll be harmed by your spouse if you don't listen to them, if you don't turn over your money and all these things, right? And if this situation sounds like what you suffered during the course of your marriage, then please do still give us a call at 212-248-7907, because I would like to explore further to see if you are eligible for this case called the T visa, because that is another way to be able to get a green card. Even if your divorce happened many years ago, even if you have the permanent bar, even if you entered the country illegally, there's many different ways that we may be able to help you with that, okay? So where VAWA is not an option, we will explore this and see if we can help you move forward, okay? All right, everyone. So I'm gonna go ahead and answer some questions live, and it's good to see all my followers, some of my clients I see too, and I see some new followers. So please, thank you so much for joining, by the way, and give me a follow. How long is the process of VAWA? So VAWA will take approximately 2 to 2.5 years. It takes 2 years alone for the VAWA, and then for the green card process, part of that case, it'll take an additional 6 months, sometimes up to a year, depending on where you live. If you've been married for over 2 years but never filed, then what can you do? From Cynthia. If you have been married for over 2 years but you never filed for your green card, my first question to you is why? How come you don't have your green card yet? And my guess is that when your spouse, your citizen spouse, is the one that's basically in control of that process, right? They essentially have to give their consent, give you their information, give you their documents, go to the lawyer with you, go to the interview with you. And in the majority of cases that I see where somebody has been married for at least 2 years, but they still have not gotten their green card or filed for it, usually because there's something else going on. And if you've been with your partner for a long time and you still don't have your green card, I would love for you to give us a call to see if you qualify for VAWA so that we can help you move forward. Because I want, as I said before, I want to see you make forward progress in your life. I don't want to see you be held back anymore. And I want to see you assert your rights and be protected and stable in this country, okay? Thank you, Super Silva. What do you think is going to happen with DACA? DACA, I honestly don't know, but if it's going to go up to the Supreme Court, then, as we can see, the Supreme Court these days is really just a political tool, and they're not really deciding things fairly. So I'm not 100% sure, and I have not had time to read the news today, so I don't know what's going on. All right. Let's see what I have. Are there any improvements on EAD renewal at NBC? From Tasha. I don't believe so. I'm an overstay. Can I still travel by airplane, especially in Hawaii? Thank you, from Raj Hill. So if you're an overstay on a visa, or you don't have status, you're flying by plane, I would caution you to be careful even if you're flying domestically, because you never know when you might have that odd chance of CBP being on the plane looking for things. I called your office, but nobody allows me to talk to you. So Chandan, you have to book an appointment with my team or schedule an appointment with me. And if you don't have the type of case that we work with, then we would not be able to offer you any assistance. If I give you my case to go to court about my residence, and I live in New Jersey, are you the person who is going to work with me, or another from loyalty? So this is the thing. When I work with clients, and if I include the process of going to the interview with you or going to court with you for the case, my availability will depend on what is on my calendar. So sometimes if I have no choice over when court is scheduled or when immigration schedules me to show up for an interview. So if I am not available on the day that you have your interview or you have your appearance, you will always be given the option of having a different lawyer go in my place or to reschedule. So it's not always possible for me to go personally to every single appointment that you may have with court or with immigration, but I do my best to attend. And where I can't go, there's always going to be one of my attorneys to go instead with you. Gabby, nice to see you. Can my citizen file for me as a sister who's an overstayer from Izzy Brown? Izzy Brown, your brother or your sister can apply for you, but if you're not in status, it is going to be a very difficult journey. Plus, it takes more than 10 plus years. VAWA should only be done in true cases of DV, not false claims. This happened to me from Ken Ellers. I agree. VAWA should only be filed, and everyone who's filing for VAWA should always tell the truth. But something that I see happen is that a person who has hurt another person, like, so if you find out that somebody is accusing you of domestic violence or anything like that, well, what you say and what the other person says are going to be two different experiences. And I have seen people gaslight others to say, I never hurt that person, or I didn't do that to them. And simply the fact of the matter is that you don't know what your spouse has experienced. You cannot speak for your spouse and how they felt. So if you think that your former partner or your current partner has filed for VAWA and said something false, I would say, well, you're not in their mind, so you don't really know what they're experiencing. And the way that things that you say will affect them differently than you may expect. And that's really what a VAWA case is about. How long does it take to get the interview in Ciudad Juarez? I would say nowadays in Ciudad Juarez, it's taking about 2 to 3 years to get an interview, depending on the case category, and it could definitely take even longer. Warrior Princess saying, I emailed twice. Should I wait for a response from your office? Warrior Princess, we don't actually use email to communicate with clients for inquiries, but do let us know if you are, try to send the email again, or the better yet, Warrior Princess, give us a DM through Instagram. That's even better. Can you get deported after divorce if you didn't apply from Wonder Woman? You cannot get deported necessarily after divorce just for divorcing, but if you never got your status through your marriage and you are sitting there without any protection, then you increase the likelihood of you not having, of possibly getting deported because you don't have a legal status. So if you've been married to somebody and you did qualify for filing for a green card, but you didn't do it because the marriage was not good or that you got divorced, please give us a call, Wonder Woman, 212-248-7907, so that we can protect your legal rights. Is 4 witness letters enough for a VAWA? I believe it's more than enough, but every case is different. Every case has to be evaluated on the affidavit plus other things. All right. Hello to my YouTube followers. If my VAWA is pending, can you still get married to a U.S. citizen to get the process faster from Rosali? So if you have a pending VAWA, the one and only thing that you cannot do besides get arrested for certain crimes is remarry. If you remarry, then your total VAWA case will be done for nothing. It'll get denied. You will no longer be eligible even if you decide to get divorced, okay? So if you're filing for VAWA, do not get married until your case is over and finished, okay? Now, if you are now in a relationship with somebody else who's a U.S. citizen, but you already have a VAWA case pending, is it faster to get a green card through your new spouse and abandon your VAWA process? And I would say probably not, because when you have gone through the marriage process twice, if you've gone through the marriage process once for a green card, it gets denied, or you end up having to file for a VAWA and you go through a second marriage, you will probably have increased scrutiny upon your case. And that could bring with it some potential problems too. But if you have a good VAWA case, my advice is to continue with it, because why put pressure on yourself and put yourself back in that same situation that you were in potentially with a second spouse? Although I hope it doesn't happen, and it does not necessarily mean that it will happen. Why increase that probability of that, right? Let the VAWA case process play out and let your relationship develop instead of running into another marriage just for the, just to see if it may help you in getting another green card, okay? Anna, if you applied for EAD in February 8, how long is it taking? So Pretty much all EADs are taking like 10 months to get right now, but the best way to find out how long your EAD is going to take is to actually look up the information yourself on the USCIS processing timeline page, which they're making it as easy as possible for people to look up their case processing times, which are giving a better estimate these days. Right. Oxigeno, buenas tardes. Superior Mind is saying, I filed for VAWA before my case, but it was denied. I did file it on my own. They wanted more proof. My spouse and I are still married, and we're just separated from Superior Mind. Superior Mind and anyone else who has already filed for VAWA, but it got denied. If your VAWA case got denied, you can still reapply as long as your deadline has not passed. So that means your deadline is the date of divorce. And if you're still married, then you can file again, and we'd love to help you apply. If you have gotten divorced, then you have to look at your deadline to see if you can still file a second time, okay? But just because your VAWA case has been denied, if you're still eligible to file a second time, you should still do so, because especially when you do things by yourself or you do your case with a lawyer who may, may not have developed your case the proper way, then it doesn't mean that you're prohibited from filing a second time, okay? As long as your divorce has not passed the 2-year mark. All right, everyone, let's see if I can do one more question. Someone's asking if I'm Bengali. I am Bengali. All right, my last question will be, if you have an arrest record for controlled substance distribution, no plea, no conviction, basically, is it possible to get anything done? Now, controlled substance convictions are incredibly difficult in immigration law. If you have a controlled substance conviction, there are very few ways of getting your adjustment done or to get it waived. Pretty much like the one waiver that's really possible is if you have possession of marijuana less than 28 grams, okay? Something else is going to be difficult, and your case will require an individual assessment to see what's possible, okay? All right, everyone. Again, my name is Moumita Rahman. Thank you so much for joining me tonight. If you need a case evaluation, do give us a call at 212-248-7907. If we're able to give you an appointment, we will let you know right away, all right? Have a wonderful night.